Okay, so this is like my ninth month on BookTube as a creator, and I have still not done the BookTube Newbie Tag. I mean, I feel like a guy who's behind on his taxes or his BookTube taxes because everyone does these like as the first video that they do, and I haven't done mine yet, so even though we're 9 months in, let's now do the Booktuber Newbie Tag. But before we do, a very quick shout out to the new Mistborn cover that I have displayed here. It's the first video I've done since receiving the US edition, and I love it. I think it looks amazing over there, so quick shout out to that. Alright, let's move on to the Booktube Newbie Tag. So this tag was originally created by Brenda C. So check her out and thank you, Brenda. Question number 1. Why did you start this channel? Okay, well, I started this channel for many reasons, but I want to try and keep this as short as possible. So here we go. Here's a long story, very short. Back many, many years ago when I was a child, I used to read a lot of books, although not as much as I read now. Anyway, but then in 2018 and 2019, something happened. I don't know what it was, but I picked up, over the course of those 2 years, a total of 3 books, and I DNF'd all of them. So I came into 2020 with my New Year's resolution to read more, and turns out I have read a lot more. Having made this resolution, I came across a booktuber, which, first of all, I never even knew prior to this year that BookTube was even a thing. Have I been living under a rock? I mean, comment below and let me know. Did I just not know? Did everyone know about this except for me? And I'm someone who loves books, so how did I not know about this thing? But anyway, I came across BookTube, specifically a booktuber by the name of Murphy. Check her out. Her channel is Murphy Napier. She is absolutely amazing. I love her videos so much that I've seen them all probably about 4 or 5 times, and just like a really good series, once I'm done, I go back to the start and I watch again. She's just absolutely amazing, and I could rave about her all day. I loved her whole concept of doing reading vlogs, TBRs, and monthly wrap-ups, and I figured that having my own BookTube channel would not only allow me to talk about the books that I've been reading in those 3 different ways, but it would also keep me on track for my goal of reading more books in 2020. So the overall reason why I started this channel was to stick to my goal of reading books this year, and it's working. Ding, 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 ding. There's more than meets the eye here. You can only see a section of my bookshelf, but anyway, and I have a new bookshelf coming because I have too many books. But moving on. Question number 2. What are some fun and unique things that you can bring to BookTube? Well, the first thing that I can bring to BookTube that is unique for me is that I can be completely honest with you guys. If I don't like a book, I'm not going to sit here and say, I love this book. I'm just not going to do it. I have read many books this year, and they've all fallen under different rating spectrums. Some have been 1-star reads, some have been 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, and 5 stars. 5 stars being the most, but I do have my 1 stars, and I am very open and very honest. If I don't like something, you're gonna know about it. You're gonna get honesty on this channel for sure. Number 2, I don't edit my videos. I just don't. I understand why people do, but there are 2 reasons why I don't edit my videos. The first is because I want to be open, honest, and most importantly, transparent to you guys. So if I muck up a line, or if I have a moment where there is dead air, which I hardly do, which is pretty cool, but if I do, you're gonna know about it. It might as well be live because it's not gonna be edited. The second reason is that I don't know how to edit, and I don't really want to. So there you go. So you're going to get that as well. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. The next thing that I bring that I feel is rather unique to BookTube. I'm not the only person who does this, but I find that a lot of BookTubers don't do this. But I was inspired by Murphy Napier to do this, and I really appreciate that she started this so that I could follow along in her really well thought out footsteps, which is every time I do a review on any book, I have two sections in my review. My first section is a spoiler-free section where I give you 3 pros and 3 cons about the book in a spoiler-free way. My second section is a spoilery section. The reason why I do this is because it allows those of you who have not read these books, who are thinking, maybe I would like to pick up that book that you're holding there, Mr. Fancy, to receive 3 pros and 3 cons in a spoiler-free way to help you determine whether or not you should pick it up. And if you have read it, then you can continue on to the spoilery version. A lot of times, in my experience, and there are a lot of booktubers out there, but just in my experience, booktubers will go straight to the spoilers, and the problem with that is if you want to know more about the book in a spoiler-free way, you don't really get that option. So you do with this channel, and you do with Murphy Napier as well. So check her out also. Okay. I mean, let's go on. Number 3, what are you most excited for about this new channel? I just had to read that question a few times. I'm going to read that again, actually. What are you most excited for about this new channel? I'm most excited to look back in a year or 2 years or 3 years, I don't know how long this channel is going to go for, and look at this vault, this metaphorical vault of my reading experiences. So I'm really, really excited about that. I'm also excited to make some friends here on BookTube. So if you want to be my friend, then thank you for being a friend, and comment below and let me know, and we can be really good friends. So when I first started this channel, I had some grandeur-like aspirations, and one of them was to do some live chats. But at the moment, this BookTube channel is just not where it needs to be in order for that to happen. There's not enough interest for live chats, and I can appreciate that. I'm totally cool with that. I wouldn't be here if I didn't love what I do, and this is something that I love doing. I love talking about books, so I'll do it anyway. But if we get to a point where enough of you guys want to do a live chat, then let me know. Another thing that I'm excited about for the future is to start doing some book club buddy reads with you guys. So there's been a ton of interest expressed over on my favorite Facebook group, Passion for Books. If you have not joined that group, I recommend you do it. If you love books, you'll love that group. There's been a lot of recommendations for us to start a book club, a buddy read book club kind of thing. So if that does happen, maybe one day I'll create a book club over on Facebook, because of all the social medias, I'm more of a Facebook person, but anyway. So yeah, I'm excited for that too. Let's move on to the next question, because this is taking far too long. Okay, question number 4. Why do you love reading? Many reasons, but I guess the first thought that comes to mind is it's a great escape, especially now with this world going through COVID-19 and this whole coronavirus pandemic that's going on. It's a tough time, and we're all struggling through everything that's going on, especially now in Melbourne, Australia, where I live. We have the first enforced curfew of my living memory. I've never had a legally enforced curfew since I've been born, and now we do. So it's a lot of staying at home and really trying to get through your day, and so to be able to jump into a book and escape off into a fantasy world most of the time for me is an amazing thing. So I love reading. I also feel that reading has a ton of benefits attached to it, so it helps a lot of people. And if you can pick up a book, because there are a ton of benefits to it. You can research that stuff up online. Okay, next. Question number 5. What book or series got you into reading? Well, I'm going to name 2. The first that I'm going to name, I'm going to talk about Enid Blyton. So Enid Blyton, I feel, growing up, was one of my staple authors that I was always reading, and I fell in love with a ton of her books, including The Faraway Tree and The Wishing Chair and those sorts of things, but I really grew an absolute fondness for The Famous Five. And If you have not read about the famous five, if you've not read any of those books, I recommend you read them because they're always a lot of fun. They always get into trouble or go on adventures and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. So that kind of got me into reading to begin with, and then came J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter was born, and I just kept reading no matter where she was up to as far as publishing her books. I just would read from book one to wherever she was up to and then start again and then start again and then start again and then start again. I probably read all of the 7 books, not including Cursed Child. I only read that for the first time this year. I loved it, by the way. There's something unique you'll get in this channel. If I like something that not other booktubers may not like, or if I don't like something that a lot of other booktubers love, I'm not going to be afraid to go against the grain and say, you know what, others may love this, but it's not the book for me. You will get that here. Anyway, for the first 7 books, I probably read them all like 50 times, and that's really no joke. So, there you go. Harry Potter really kept me going into reading. Question number 6. Sorry, that was number 6. So, sorry, that was number 5. This is number 6. See, this is what I mean. I don't edit. So, already fulfilling my duties as a, what do we call this? A unique things you can bring to BookTube. I don't edit. Exhibit A. Okay. Question 6. What questions would you ask your favourite booktubers? Oh my gosh, all of my favourite booktubers are international booktubers. There are booktubers that are here in Australia that I do love, so I absolutely have to say that. I've recently come across some amazing booktubers. Some of them are really insightful. Others are just absolutely hilarious. Oh my god, there's this dynamic duo and I've forgotten their name. But if I remember, I'll put them in the description below. They're Australian and I love them. They make me laugh so much. But my top 5, 4 of them are American and one of them, I know she was born in the Netherlands, but I don't know if she's currently residing there or she's residing somewhere else. But I'm going to give them all very quick shout-outs. Murphy from the Booktuber channel, Murphy Napier, favourite booktuber of all time. Daniel from the Booktuber channel, Daniel Green. Troy from the Booktuber channel, Troy Reads. Michelle from the Booktuber channel, Books Michelle. She's the Dutch booktuber, but she, her vlogs and her videos, her booktube videos are done in English. So you can understand her even if you don't speak Dutch. And number 5 is Elliot from the Booktuber channel, Elliot Brooks. 4 of those 5s, not including Books Michelle from Books Michelle, are American. So the question that I would want to ask them is, would you guys be willing to come to Australia, specifically Melbourne, so I can meet all you guys? Like, I mean, I've never been to Comic-Con, but can I set up some kind of book Comic-Con thing where I have those 5 booktubers just on a panel? I will sit there all day and just ask them all these amazing questions. That's what I would do. Anyway, question 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Going back to when I first started, which is when you should normally do a newbie booktube newbie tag, I would have said the pressures of reading, and I still to some degree believe that that's the case. I don't feel that booktube in general pressures anyone, because if you are feeling any sort of pressure that you feel that you can't stick to, then why are you why are you here on BookTube? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean if you're receiving a ton of pressure and stress from the BookTube community to do with your channel, why would you keep going with something that is so stressful? That's the point I'm trying to make. But 2, I don't feel that BookTube in and of itself creates any stress or pressure. And most of the time the stress and the pressure that has come about because of BookTube, the implied pressure, because I don't believe it's real pressure, it's just implied pressure, is that you need to read so many books every month, but that's not the case. Do your research. There are tons of booktubers out there. There are some that don't even do TBRs, like Daniel from Booktuber channel, Daniel Green. I even asked him one time in a live chat, would you be willing to do a TBR? And he said, I don't like doing TBRs. I don't like talking about what I'm currently reading. So he'll do book reviews, but he just won't do a TBR. Then there are people like Murphy Napier who did book TBRs, but they're no longer doing them anymore. There are booktubers like me who will try to nowadays, it was different when I first started, but nowadays stick to 12 books a month that I try to read. Troy Reads is currently doing that as well, but I even asked him and said, wow, I thought I was one of the only ones who was reading this much, which is a point that I want to make to you guys. And Troy was even saying to me, no, Mr. Fancy, that's actually not what I would normally do. It's only because of COVID-19 that I'm reading 12 books a month. Otherwise, I would read significantly less. So I don't feel that it is a pressure of BookTube. In saying that, my BookTube channel, I feel, comes with its own pressures on myself to read 12 books a month. So I hope that helps. It's not the community. The community doesn't pressure anyone. No one is holding a gun to you, to your face and saying, you have to do this. No one's doing that at all. It's my own pressure that I put on myself. Anyway, next thing. Question number 8. When did you start reading? Well, the running joke is that I was born with a book in my hands that I was reading. I mean, literally, I came out, I was born. I'm sorry, that was a bit graphic, so I'm sorry, rewind. I feel like I was born reading a book, and no one can really dispute that because I haven't asked anyone who was there. I haven't asked the doctor. Excuse me, doc, was there a book in my hand? But yeah, look, seriously, when I was young, I started loving to read. One of the first reading experiences that I had was that my parents bought me those picture books that came along with audio cassettes. There's a little hint at my age. With audio cassettes that I would read along to, particularly those Disney classic books. So that was a lot of fun. And then as I got older, I started reading more and more. When I went to my first primary school, so primary school in Australia is the Australian version of the American term elementary school. When I went to my first primary school, I started building an amazing rapport with my librarian, because I was the only student at the school that was interested in the Choose Your Own Adventure books. So she kept starting to order those books in for me, and then one day I had to crush her heart, poor dear, by telling her I wanted to read a normal book. And I just, as an adult, I feel so bad and wish I could find this librarian and say, I'm so sorry, I know it now, I realise now you did so much for me, and yet I just metaphorically gave you a slap in the face and said no. So I just feel bad now. But anyway, and with every librarian, the librarian of my second primary school, the librarian of my high school, which is split into 2 different campuses, both librarians I got to know. And then every area that I've moved to since I've graduated from high school, I've gotten to know the librarians as I've joined the library, even this one. So yeah, and it's just kept me going. Alright, so I started reading at a very young age. If it wasn't that I was born reading, it would have been, oh gosh, 3, 4 years old. Really young. Okay, question number 9. Where do you read? I read in my office because it's just the most convenient place for me to read. So, yeah, I don't read in a hammock or on a very lush sofa or anything like that. I do my reading vlog on a sofa, but I don't read on a sofa. But yeah, I read in my office just because it's the most convenient place for me to read. And finally, question number 10. Okay, so I do not edit, but I do pause. But only if I'm going to cough. So I just paused there. I do apologise. Question number 10. What kind of books do you like to read? Oh. Okay, so coming into 2020, I knew one genre that I loved, and that was fantasy. But then as my experience on BookTube and with reading this year grew, I learned that there is so much more to the genre of fantasy than it just being a fantasy. So let's break that down. Fantasy is without a doubt, and I don't know why I'm pointing there. I don't edit, so it's not like a thing has come up on the screen for you now saying fantasy and then little dot points. It's not happening, but let's imagine. Zoom. Oh gosh, that didn't look good. Fantasy. Doom, 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 doom. With little bits of writing in. I hope you know what I'm trying to do there. I told you I don't edit, but anyway, and that's why that's still there. Okay, a goal that I have is to shorten my videos though, so let's wrap this up. Fantasy. There is more to fantasy than meets the eye. Let's start off with the most obvious. For those of you who don't know though, more than happy to explain. There is high fantasy and there is low fantasy. High fantasy is fantasy that takes place, oh, I'm sorry about the lighting, fantasy that takes place in a world that's not our own. Low fantasy is a book that takes place in the world of our own. Two examples of this is Harry Potter is a low fantasy, which offended me the first time I heard it, but then when I heard the definition, I wasn't as offended. So, Harry Potter is a low fantasy because it takes place in our own world. Hogwarts is set somewhere in the UK. Mistborn, my favourite series of all time. Harry Potter's my second favourite, by the way. Mistborn is a high fantasy because it is set in Lutherdale, a world that is not of our own. It's a complete new creation. Also within fantasy, we have magic systems. I don't like books that are fantasy that don't have magic in them, so there's something I don't like, but there are hard magic systems, one, and there are soft magic systems. And again, Mistborn and Harry Potter can explain this best. Harry Potter has a soft magic system. What this means is that there are no limitations on this magic. While there is laws and order within this world that there are certain spells that are illegal to perform, provided you have a wand, there is nothing stopping you from actually doing it. It is still feasibly possible for you to wave that wand and do that spell. In Mistborn, I don't want to give away spoilers, but in Mistborn, you kind of need to have something on you in order to be able to access that magic. If you don't have that on you, then you don't have the magic. So there are clear limitations of things that you can do and things that you literally can't do if you don't have what is required. There's your difference. So I like both soft and hard magic systems in fantasy, but I don't like fantasy without magic. It's just something I don't like. And if the idea of a book or book series of fantasy is sword fighting or gun fighting, it's just not my deal at all. I also learned this year that I love dystopians. That's my dystopian shelf for the moment. So dystopians are books that are, well, it's the opposite of utopian or utopia. It's books where tyrants are leading the world and things aren't as good as they could be. But that's not why I like them. I like dystopians because they have very well-defined class/caste, C-A-S-T-E, caste systems. So whether it is Divergent, The Hunger Games, The Selection, I could go on, they're all right there. I love the idea of exploring worlds of different classes or caste systems that aren't as simplistic as our physical reality world where it's just rich, poor. So in the Hunger Games, for example, there were 13 districts. But when you start book one, there ends up being 12. And these districts all have separate rules and things that you can do and how you live. And it's the same with Divergent. While Divergent, I think, has like 5 or 6, something like that, different factions, which are different cultures in different areas of that world. The Selection has the same thing. Different areas that have different cultures, and it's just amazing. So, love that. Urban fantasy, I don't mind, but I'm pretty much limiting it to Vampire Academy and its follow-on series Bloodlines. I've also, started falling in love with contemporaries. So for the longest time, I didn't know what a dystopian was. I didn't know that fantasy had many subgenres, and I also didn't know of the genre contemporary at all. Because my thought, and I apologize about this, I put my hand over my heart or over my favorite book to let you know that to me, I thought of a contemporary as the genre of, oh, those are just standard books of things that happen every day and they're just boring. And then I came across this book, Letters to the Lost, and absolutely fell in love with it. Bridget Kemmerer is amazing. I've also read The Devil Wears Prada, 13 Reasons Why, and others along the way that I've absolutely loved. So I do love my contemporaries. Yeah. I like mysteries as well, provided they're not done by that the POV that we're following, the point of view, is not a detective. Then I do love those as well. Genres I don't like. Westerns. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Brandon. Sanderson. Oh, wow, I've hidden the second era. Okay. I'm sorry, Brandon Sanderson, Mistborn era 2. Not a fan of Westerns. Okay. Excuse me. I'm also not a fan of questing slash traveling tropes. J.R.R. Tolkien, give me a rest. In April, I read The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and oh my gosh, no. So anytime anyone goes on any kind of a quest, I feel like I've been scarred for life. But particularly going on a quest where you don't know where you're going or you don't know what it is that you're trying to achieve, I just find it completely boring, so it's not my thing. Historical fiction is something I found out this month that I don't like either. So historical fiction is, so I'm constantly learning on this channel, that's something that I really appreciate. Historical fiction is the genre that is set aside for those who used to call that type of book a war book. A book following something to do with war times. Yeah, it'd be nice to find a historical fiction that did not involve a war, because to me, historical fiction should refer to a fictional book that's set in history. Wars weren't always going on in history. There were times where there weren't wars. So why can't I find historical fiction that has nothing to do with a war? But anyway, not a fan of historical fiction either. And yeah, that's it, I guess. Alright, so this video has gone on more than long enough. If any of this made you think, ooh, I like Mr. Fancy and I want to hear more of what he has to say, then please feel free to subscribe to this channel by clicking the subscribe button and then clicking the bell and clicking all, because for some reason YouTube's decided with the bell to have all and personal and none, and I don't know why YouTube has to keep updating, but anyway, we'll just let that go. I also am constantly, and by constantly I mean daily, updating my Goodreads account, and that information is below as well. If you would like to personally get in contact with me, my email is below as well. So there you go. Hello and welcome to Mr. Fancy Reads. If you enjoyed this at all, please do give this video a thumbs up. Apparently it helps with the algorithm. I don't make money, and I'm not here to make money, but I'm just saying, as a transference of appreciation, if you liked this video and you want to give it a thumbs up, that would be so lovely. It would make my day. Anyway, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here with my McCafe coffee and just, yeah, drink this and say thank you very much for being so patient with me to wait 9 months for me to finally do the Booktube Newbie Tag. I'm sorry it took this long. I didn't know this was a requirement, but I feel like I have now paid my proverbial Booktube taxes. So there you go, taxman. Here is my Booktube Newbie Tag. Thank you so very much for watching. Now for the obligatory uploading schedule. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'll see you again very soon. Letting you go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Mwah. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, happy reading. Bye guys. Bye.